Welcome back to another episode of Structure. I am Elle Stone, and I go by the Ancient Ninja. I want to talk about astrology today. This isn't usually something I am prone to talk about just because I've never really been into astrology. It's always been something I found to be a bit of a bandwagon subject, and I never was drawn to the whole determining someone's entire personality by their star sign. So it wasn't something I researched. But the more I find people who are similar to me in mindset and talk about things that I find interesting, I'm finding that astrology seems to be a similar interest of all of theirs. And the more I learn about it, I realize that there's a reason I wasn't into Western astrology. Now, I had previously read the Vedas, and I'd read a bit about Vedic astrology. I know about the fingerprints and the shamans in the woods and all of those things, and I thought that was, interesting, but I felt that maybe that was such an ancient part of astrology that it was no longer being applied with astrologers today. But it's not true. And actually, a lot of what we see on social media in terms of Western astrology is very, very watered down. And I think that I have a couple reasons for that. So before I get into that, I do want to let you guys know I did release my first guided meditation on YouTube. It is called The Leap of Faith. I call these immersive meditations because they are ones that I'm guiding you through an experience during the meditation. It's something that happens to me quite often when I meditate, and I wanted to really share some of it with y'all. So I have a list of a few more that I want to put out there, and I'm always having experiences with meditation. So if you want to see that, I will put that in the link below. Now, let's get into how Western astrology is being used against us. So, when it comes to the, view of astrology from a collective viewpoint, if you ask most people what they know of astrology and zodiacs and star signs, they're going to tell you they think it's malarkey. They don't believe in it. And if they do believe in it, they're going to have some sort of horoscopal viewpoint of the zodiacs and not understand the natal charts and how the zodiacs work with planets and how all of that stuff actually exists. So there are birth charts for every single person that's ever been born. I recently actually just did mine. I did mine because I've been looking into it and researching it. And I was completely blown away by the amount of things that I learned doing it and the stuff I was reading. And that really just started me on this journey of why I'm making this video, because I was like, wow, it goes so much further and in more detail than that. But you see this watered down version of astrology promoted on such a high level. In media and all sorts of things by celebrities. It's very rare you'll actually see people go into the celestial bodies and talk about things from a divine perspective. So in saying that, we have to ask ourselves, why is this something that we don't even learn about, right? We're not even taught about our birth chart. And why, when we're taught about these things, or not even taught because no one's been taught, but have the ability to start learning them. Colleges are starting to offer the ability for people to learn these and go to school for them. Why are they doing it in this time? How is that being used against us? Now, I want to kind of go back because I want to make clear that when I'm talking about the way Western astrology is and how it's not based upon I'm not talking about that people aren't oh, you have a rising moon and, or what's your sun and stuff like that. But it's very much kind of like, oh, well, you can watch these popular shows like Love Island, or even just see general interactions between people on social media. And if somebody be like, well, he's a Gemini, so over that, like, and they kind of group people into these categories based upon their star sign, their zodiac, their sun sign. And I find it quite interesting because it's like no one really goes into the idea of birth charts, and there are people that are starting to talk about it a bit, but it's not something that was really made clear or even talked about until quite recently. And you see that people aren't necessarily ready to digest this information either. I mean, I believe everyone, now that I'm learning about it more, definitely should learn about it and discover what it means, because the thing about astrology is it's not just birth charts. It's not just your zodiac. It's not just your star sign, right? Astrology as a whole is helping predict, essentially, not predict, I don't want to use that word. It's helping us determine the alignment of the celestial bodies in the actions that happen here and also in other places. So it's kind of like a way for us to really read the blueprint that is the universe, and in a way also connect to the divine here, being able to find out things and signs through the stars. So it's actually a really incredibly useful tool, and it goes way past just your star sign. I mean, just reading my birth chart was an incredible experience. I mean, it honestly, it blew me away because it was things about myself I already kind of knew, but I'd always doubted, and I didn't want to like admit, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. I mean, this can't be true, about me. So I find that to be very interesting. So that is one way of how I think Western astrology is being used against us. It's being promoted in such a watered down way that the information now isn't taken seriously when we see it in a really in-depth way. So people are being flooded with this watered down fake version of astrology, which is like, what we mentioned earlier. And it's getting them tired of it. They don't want to talk about it. So then when you start talking about birth charts and all of that, they're like, oh my God, that's so stupid. I don't want to talk about that. That is really turning you off to your divine abilities and who you really are. And I mean, that's when you were born. So it's almost like maktub, it is written. And it's really interesting. So, okay. Another way, something that I found interesting, that in piggybacking off what I just said, how they're, giving us this information when we're not ready or able to perceive it properly. What if, in knowing that around this time, because again, this is predicted Mayan calendar, this is predicted by many civilizations that during this time humanity would awaken. So that means, of course, we're going to start really be looking into astrology in a really in-depth way and seeing things in this way. In knowing that, what if they're manipulating things like people's birthdays? They're obviously using the astrological chart and the planetary alignments and star alignments, all that. They're using all of those and things they do with ley lines, rituals, all of that. But what if in knowing, because the reason I thought about this is when I was looking into the birth charts, there was something I noticed with people that are very into astrology, and because I follow some astrologers, I wouldn't call them astrologers, but they're people that do astrology charts, and they talk about these political figures or these celebrities based off of their charts. Based off of their charts. So you're getting something based off of a birthday that was told to you. And I actually asked ChatGPT this. I can't show because I didn't log in, so I lost it. I mean, I could use it again and just enter it in again and ask it. But I was like, would an astrologer, like, how would you know, like, if you were to hypothetically fake your birthday, like, to throw people off your scent, like your birth chart, right? Like, if you were a political figure that you wanted people to think was destined for a certain thing, or you were, supposed to be this person destined for this thing, and you knew people were going to start waking up in this time and they were going to start looking at your birth chart, would there be a way for you to know what date would be the perfect birthday, what place would be a perfect birthday to say is yours, so you could create this character, right? Like down to the stars. You could create this character not only in personality, physical appearance, but down to the very stars of it. And chat said yes. that it would take astrologers knowing, and very experienced astrologers, which we know people who are in these high positions have access to. So I really wanted to point that out because I think it's important to know that we don't know anything. And if we're basing what we know off of something we're not sure of, even in an astrological point, that doesn't mean it's true. I could tell you my birthday is March 2nd, and you could determine your entire basis of my personality based on that, thinking you know everything about me, and I could be lying to you. And that's something I've always wanted to kind of point out in a lot of things in history. I thought about making a video on it, but it would be 2 seconds long. Think of the asshole theory, okay? That's what I call it. It's probably a terrible theory, like a name for that. But I call it the asshole theory in terms of think of what if people are just lying? What if they're lying? What if they're not telling the truth? What if it's a lie? What if those historical findings are a lie? And I've always said that, and the more I get into history and whatnot, I'm finding there's a lot of things that are actually a lie, which means it might all be. And I might make a video on that. All right, so that is it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm definitely going to be looking into astrology more, doing more birth charts. I guess if you want me to read your birth chart, I could do it for you. I just use my app. I'm not really interested in doing any of that. I'm not interested in being someone that reads birth charts, but I do want to learn how to read them. I don't want to do it for a living or anything. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. If you have anything that you would like to say, please feel free to comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I want to get my channel up there. I'm trying to do more to get my channel up there and cleaning it up and getting it in a good place, because I'm finally well settled in the mountains and feeling very great. So yeah, thank you so much. And as always, keep it pointy.